Welcome to Vendetta Sports Media. This is the Daily Show. It is March 13th. I'm James Herrick, joined by Chickster. Chickster, how we doing?
We're here. You know what I mean? You got a little accent today, like kind of New York Italian. You know what I'm
Really?
saying? Yeah, kind of have that going for you today. It looks like I don't know. You're like, how you doing? You know what I mean? How you doing
How
today?
you
We're doing the
doing?
Vendetta Sports Media Show today. You know what I mean? Like,
I've never gotten that before. That's the first. I'll
there you
have
go.
to.
I got
Maybe I'll
you.
start whipping it out more then.
Yeah, you got just little touches here and there. You got to sprinkle in there. You know what I mean?
All right. So the biggest thing that we got today, brackets came out yesterday. March Madness, obviously the biggest time of the year. So we're gonna throw the bracket up here and just kind of go over our first initial thoughts and reactions to the bracket. All right, here we go. We can start here in the South. Um, I think. Oh, great! This barely almost fits on there all the way. But in the South, I don't know about you, but I'm looking at this, and for me, it's pretty much all Alabama for me.
Oh
I
yeah.
I think this is one of the out of all the one seeds, I think Alabama's the best one seed, and I don't really think many of these teams give them a run for their money.
They don't. I can tell you right now. You know, I'm going for the Terps for our boy Carl, and I'm not qualified to talk college basketball like Carl or Cervantes is. They were
Yeah,
in here like they could tell you a shit ton.
they're elite.
But yeah, I mean, fuck. I think the only team that could kind of Creighton looks okay.
Hmm.
Uh, Scroll down a little bit, and yeah, fuck. I don't even trust Arizona. Like the
No,
only one I kind of see is Creighton. I think
yeah.
Creighton goes to the Elite Eight.
Hmm.
Uh, spoiler for my bracket, but yeah, I think they go to the Elite Eight. I think that's. But other than that, that's Alabama's region. I just don't see anybody really. Kind of like the messy part about that region is just like all the round of 64, round of 32. There's a lot of
Yeah.
uncertainty there. Like trying to build a perfect region in that bracket or whatever is going to be tough. But
Yeah. I think with Bama too, I think teams like Creighton, Baylor and Arizona can both get hot, but it's I don't really trust either of those teams to make it to the
mm,
Elite Eight to where they get that chance, just because they're both so inconsistent. I
for
can see the
sure.
bottom half of that bracket getting real messy.
Yeah.
And I guess someone's gonna make it out of there, whether it's Creighton, Baylor, or Arizona State. But I wouldn't trust Arizona State getting out of that, or Arizona, excuse me, getting out of that
Yeah.
bracket. I
I
like
just
Charleston too as a 12 seed. I think that's an interesting matchup.
I
12,
I
12
have
v
I
5.
have Charleston and Furman going into the next round, and then I have Charleston going to the Sweet 16. So
See,
that it's gonna be weird. It's a little funky. I ain't gonna lie, but
yeah. I hate that. I hate doing that in brackets where you get the 13 and the 12 winning next to each other. Because if you
mhm.
get that wrong, you're so screwed. But it's
Yeah,
those are two that I like there.
yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say I don't trust really San Diego State. Furman's kind of it's a tough draw for Virginia.
Hmm.
I think Virginia could win that game, but I don't know. I feel like you're gonna need a Cinderella, and I think Charleston going to Sweet 16 is kind of like the Cinderella narrative I'm going with.
Yeah, and I feel like Virginia's I don't want to say easy team to upset early, but it's they're not a team that's gonna go and shoot the lights out. And it's if you play good basketball and don't turn the ball over and score enough, you're always gonna have a chance to beat Virginia. That's why they got upset when they were the one seed, because
See,
just their
Virginia,
style is.
they play very safe basketball,
Hmm.
and when you're playing safe basketball, you're not accounting for when another team is like just hot. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because you could
Hmm.
play that safe basketball, no turnover, slow pace, efficiently score. But if another team is just now you're playing out of your comfort zone, and now you got to play up almost, or you got to play faster. You got to play to another style to try to stay in the game. So it's tough, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in that first. That region's a little messy, except for the Bama thing. Like Bama's going to the Final Four, and then everything else is kind of like all over the place.
I'm with you. It's gonna get real messy, and then you've got Bama coming out of it somehow, some
Yeah,
way.
yeah. They're just like, okay, y'all, like here's Bama up here, and everyone's fighting over for the pebbles down here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then on the opposite side here, we got the Midwest. I think this also isn't that great of like a region either, because I like Texas as a 2 seed. I think they're one of the better 2 seeds. But like Houston, Texas, they're a good 1 and 2, but Miami at 5 is hurt. I don't think Indiana is that great of a 4. Xavier is a real streaky 3. I mean, they can be good, but they rely a lot on the 3. They shoot the
Yeah.
3 well, but like they're a little bit streaky. So what are your first thoughts here?
Uh, Love the Texas. Love Texas as a two
Mm-hmm.
seed. That I think that's real sneaky. I think that's the best two seed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Possibly would have gave them a one for how they ended it, especially against Kansas. Beating them at the end of the regular season and then beating them in the Big 12 tournament. Uh, Thought that might have put them over, but them as a two seed is really not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I really like. I don't trust Houston. That's just my
Yeah.
thing. And I think from an outsider's perspective, you know, I see Houston and I see a team that does really well and then always kind of just stalls when they get to the tournament. And there's people that defend Houston, be like, well, they go like same people that kind of defend Gonzaga. I'm
Yep.
still not the biggest believer in Gonzaga, but they defend them and then they get to the tournament and this is just me naturally, like I don't know college basketball as some other people do, like the nut jobs. The nut jobs are
Mm-hmm.
that this is like a niche. But every time I see Houston, I'm like, okay, they're gonna lose. I just don't know when. They're gonna lose earlier, but really like Texas. I think Xavier's really good too. I think in the Big East, that Big East was that conference tournament was it was cutthroat. Xavier was in that mix.
Yep.
Um, I kind of like Indiana's very. I think you said inconsistent. Is that what you said? Inconsistent. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know if they're inconsistent. I guess that is true. That wasn't the word
Mhm.
I used, but that is true. But also, like with Indiana, it's like they're a decent Big Ten team. They're not like outstanding. It's like
Yeah,
they're,
they're
uh,
they're in the mix, but it's just like
yeah.
what I mean. I watched Indiana and who were they playing? It was the conference tournament. They were playing. I think it was Penn State. Uh,
Hmm.
Maybe I think it was Penn State. I can't remember, but they just
I think you're right.
didn't look good. It just didn't look good. You know what I mean? Like there was flashes like I in the college basketball chat, like I said, I'm honest. I don't know college basketball something, but I was like, hey man, who's 23? I think 23 for the Hoosiers, and they're like, oh, that's Trace, whatever. I was like, oh yeah, he's pretty good. He's the only person doing shit on their team. Like
Hmm.
that's what. So I think you know people have Kent State over Indiana. I'll give Indiana the benefit of the doubt, but I actually have I think I have Drake beating them. Either I have Drake beating Miami, but I don't know if I have Drake going to the Sweet 16 as well.
Yeah, and
But
I see
good.
that a lot of people like Kent State, but they didn't win their conference in the regular season. Like
Mm-hmm.
they won the MAC tournament, so they got the auto bid, but they weren't the best team in the MAC. Toledo won the regular season, and credit to Kent State for like winning the tournament, getting in. So credit to them. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but also at the same time, it's like there's something to be said for a team that of that level that can win consistently throughout the year, rather than just
Yeah.
get hot at the end. So I'm not really as high on Kent State as some other people out there. So I probably have Indiana beating them in the first round. But I think what you said about Indiana is true. Where like Trace Jackson Davis really good.
That guy.
Their point guard Shafino, he's good, but like he's not outstanding either. So like
I think he kind of
that's
gets lost in games. Like you won't hear from him for like stretches of time.
yep, yep.
So
That's a spot where like I'm not really in on Miami or Indiana as a 4 and a 5. So like Miami's hurt too. So I'm sure something's gonna go awry there in that like little pairing of 4 and 5.
right.
And also that the other thing we were talking about Texas earlier, I like Texas, but they could be in for like Colgate's by far the best 15 seed, and I'm not saying that Colgate's going to beat them, but they're going to have the toughest game for any 2 seed probably. And they either get Texas A&M rivalry game or Penn State, who's got Jalen Pickett, who's really good. So like I like Texas, but I think they might have the hardest run out of all the 2 seeds here.
See, I pick Texas.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not picking against
I
them,
I
but
picked no, I picked them to win the whole thing.
oh,
I think they're playing their best basketball right now. Uh, and man, I think their offense is all figured out, and they're just rolling over teams. Like I said, they beat
mhm,
Kansas twice, and I think they beat them both games by 20 points. And I mean, we're talking about Kansas, number one seed ranked Kansas, and so man, I think just they're playing really good right now. I think they're going to be almost unstoppable. I think they have everything offensively figured out. They're just playing really good basketball right now, and I just you don't think I was filling out my bracket and I was like, fuck, am I really picking Texas to win? But at this, I don't think it's been this close. Like this is usually there's a more often than not there's like a unanimous winner almost. You're like, oh,
mhm,
this team's probably gonna win. This one's
yeah,
all over the place. You could take Bama, you could take Texas. Will probably be one of these teams down here that we could talk about. But I mean,
mhm,
I don't think there's like a clear favorite winner. I think you could say this team's gonna win, and no one can really disagree with you. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Texas too. I think I'm gonna have Texas in the final. I haven't filled out my bracket all the way yet. I'm
I
struggling
filled
over.
it last night. I have to look at it again, and then I have to make 23 other brackets. So because I'm like when it's this season, I just make 25 brackets. I'm
Yeah,
like, why the fuck not? You know what I mean?
might as well. I've been going back and forth on some of like the threes and sixes. Like on the other side here, I guess we can start. Where was it? But like the um which game was it? Why am I tripping? Oh, the Baylor Creighton game was one I've been going back and forth on. So like I haven't completely filled it out yet because I've been looking at games like that where it's like I'm not
I
sure yet.
I like Creighton because Baylor they live and die by the three,
Hmm.
and you're talking about a team that's living or dying by the three in college basketball, which college basketball doesn't shoot as efficiently as the NBA. Like, and you could see NBA teams when they live and die by the three, they fucking live or die by that three.
Hmm.
You could talk about the Rockets in what 2017, if I'm 2016 or whatever, missed 27 threes in a row in a playoff game and a good winner go home playoff game. Like, yeah, that shit's real. And so we're talking about Baylor. Actually, my Big 12 one, it was Iowa State versus Baylor. I took Iowa State just because
Hmm.
Iowa State had a like they have a suffocating defense. Baylor's over there, they live and die by the three. I don't know. I I don't think it's a what's the word? It's not a substantial, not substantial. It's not a good way to live in college basketball to live and die by the
Yeah.
three. You got to have other forms of scoring that are consistent, and if you're a really good shooting 3-point shooting team on top of that, that helps. But
Yeah.
not, I just don't see it
You have to have some sort of plan B. That's kind of the
for
way I
sure.
was leaning too. So to hear you
Hmm.
kind of validate
Yeah,
that, that makes me feel better about it too.
I'm like an expert as of a week ago because I just started doing conference brackets. So no, I really don't know anything. I wish I would watch college basketball more. I love basketball. Wish I would watch it more.
I'm with you. It'll be like February and I'll be like, "Oh crap, I
I
gotta
gotta
start
start
watching
watching.
more."
I
Yeah,
gotta start
exactly.
watching.
Um and then I think this we'll go over to the West bracket now. This bracket's really interesting. There's a few interesting spots here. Kansas I think is a good one seed. You could make an argument they should be a little bit higher. UCLA, I think, is a good two seed. They're a little banged up, so that kind of hurts them a little bit. But I think UConn's a great four. Illinois, Arkansas, they're both really good teams for an 8 and 9. Well, I don't know if really good's the right word, but like they could beat a one seed. Like they're both good enough to go out there if they get hot. Illinois is a little bit more inconsistent than Arkansas. And then Gonzaga is a three. You spoke earlier about how Gonzaga team not to trust, but I like them better as a three than the
I
years they're a one.
A lot better, yes. And I was about to say that like Gonzaga as a three is a lot more respectable. I felt like I always hated that Gonzaga was playing. I mean, and credit, I believe it's the WCC now. I think that's whatever. Uh, that's the conference. I think it's it's as good. It's getting better as a conference.
Hmm.
St. Mary's has been a ranked team. So they're having more competition, but just to give them the one seed, that never sat right with me. I believe Gonzaga is going to the Big East soon. Is that true? Can't remember. I don't know if I was dreaming that or I was kind of hoping it would happen. Whatever,
I'm
or
not
if it has
100%
happened.
positive. to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
So yeah, this is why we need Carl and Alex. That's why.
I know, right?
Yeah, but I think Gonzaga as a 3 seed is a lot better. It's a lot more respectable. They're not being disrespected by being a 3 seed. I feel like this is where they're properly rated. I think a top 4 seed, I would say second high. I think 3 and 4 is not that's respectable for a team that's not one of the big six conferences. You know what I mean? So I
Yep.
think that's great.
Yep. And I like you. You were talking about St. Mary's earlier. They're in this bracket too, and I think I'm gonna take VCU over them
Mm.
as a 12-5. I like that VCU team. They played well in their conference tournament, and they've got some guys that I'm a little bit more familiar with, just because I'm a Michigan fan. They've got two Michigan transfers,
Oh,
Brandon Johns and Zeb Jackson, but like those guys are like tournament experienced. Like they won games in the tournament with Michigan, and they're both good players. They've got some other guys too. It's not just those two. And those two aren't even like the best players on the team or anything. But it's like they've got some tournament experience that I like there out of a 12 seed that a lot of 12 seeds don't have, and they've been playing hot as of late. So I think I'm gonna rock with them getting the win over number 5 St. Mary's.
yeah. I didn't. I had St. Mary's, but I don't think it matters because I think UConn
Mm-hmm.
is playing really well.
Yep,
Like either way, I think UConn just rolls over whoever that next team is.
I'm with you.
Uh, yeah, because UConn in the Big East, they played really well. They ended their season on a really like on a hot streak. You know, almost like last 10 games they only lost to like one or two. They're playing really good basketball right now, so I think UConn as a 4 seed is really dangerous for this
Mm-hmm.
region.
I
Let's
hope we see
see.
that Kansas UConn game.
I think that's what we're gonna see.
It's going to be a
And
good game too.
my bracket, I think I picked UConn.
Hmm.
I think I did. I have to double check. You know, there's like fucking 128 games you have to pick. So,
Yeah.
but I picked UConn. I have Gonzaga. I'm going for those Northwestern. I'm going for I
Yep.
got to for Cervantes. You know what I
I'm
mean?
picking them. I'm picking
Yeah,
Northwestern and Maryland. They're automatic write-ins.
I automatically there was no question I wasn't picking them. I was like I'm picking them for these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
UCLA. I had I call myself a TCU fan.
Hmm.
That's like my Texas team.
Yeah.
I also go for Notre Dame, which Notre Dame's nowhere near this fucking tournament. But TCU and Gonzaga, I think I picked TCU over Gonzaga. I looked at it. I was like, I just don't know how I can. And really, TCU only has Mike Miles. I don't really see a lot of, but I didn't feel right picking Gonzaga over TCU, even though that's probably the correct pick. I picked
Hmm.
TCU, which I don't even.
TCU's got a chance too. It's not like that they're way in over their heads. They've got a
Well,
chance.
and I'm not no not the they might not even get out of the first round. I mean, Arizona State's okay. Nevada can, I think they can upset TCU too. So I don't even know if TCU gets out the first round.
Yeah.
So, TCU has a tough little run there. Those
Hmm.
first 2 games will be tough for them. And then after that, they're probably looking at UCLA. I only picked Northwestern one game. Sorry, Cervantes. I could do it more than that. I had to pick UCLA, but yeah, this is a little bit of a uncertain conference. I think a lot of things can go different ways here. Um, I just don't think how years past everyone's like, oh yeah, well, there's gonna be some really good brackets. I don't think there's gonna be really any good brackets after the round of 32. Like there's just no
No.
way. This is the Jimmer Range podcast. They had a policy like everyone is good and no one is good,
Yep.
and that's how this college basketball season looks like it's gone. It's like everyone's good and no one's good at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with you because that's just like one week the number one lost like it was like we had I don't remember the exact stat, but there was a ridiculous number of like number ones would like they'd become the number one, lose. Then they'd become
Hmm.
someone else would become the number one, lose. And to your point about the TCU game, first round, I think the stat is that there's been an 11/6 every single year, with the 11 being one of the playing teams. And so
Hmm.
that either is the TCU game or the top right, which was or top left, which was where is it?
No, it
Oh,
was Iowa State, and I
yeah.
think that one could happen too. I like
Hmm.
Iowa State's defense, but What's crazy is I didn't pick an 11 seed, and I know I need to. I know I should. I just can't pick one. I just because even when we get to the next region, I don't like that one. I told you I already kind of like Creighton this year,
Hmm.
so I didn't pick Creighton. So one of those is going to lose. I have a feeling it could be TCU, could be Iowa State,
Yeah.
could be this one over here. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not. I don't think it's Creighton though. I think Creighton's good.
Yeah, I'm with you. We can swing over to that side now for the East, and I think this is probably the most interesting region here. I can see this going a lot of ways. You've got the worst number one seed. I think is pretty. It's pretty unanimous. People are, I don't want to say out on Purdue. There's people that like Purdue, but as a one seed, I think if people are picking one to get out early, it's Purdue. Um, and then like Memphis FAU, great matchup. Duke Oral Roberts, great matchup. Tennessee is on upset alert. Kentucky Providence, that's a good matchup. There's a lot of interesting teams in this bracket, and I think this can go a lot of different ways here.
I think this might be the most talented region in this bracket, and this one's going to be a cutthroat because Purdue goes in the next round, but I think Purdue loses to Memphis or FAU.
Hmm.
Duke and Oral Roberts, that's a horrible draw for Duke because I think Duke can actually be pretty good in this tournament, but they took Oral Roberts, who can be streaky.
Hmm.
Um, Tennessee, I took Tennessee in this game. However, I think Tennessee loses the next round to Duke or Oral Roberts. Kentucky and Providence, that's a bad draw for that one. I mean, like Providence is a really good 11 seed. I think Kentucky, being very inconsistent the past few years, that's a hard game. I picked Kansas State, Michigan State, and USC. That's tough. I think USC is actually a decent team. Michigan State has Tom Izzo, and so that the second seed go down to the second seed. I think that one's a tough game.
Yeah,
Real quick,
that's Marquette.
Marquette. Marquette plays in the Big East, which was okay this year, but Shaka Smart's a good coach. But how much do you really trust Marquette? I think I picked Michigan State over USC, so it's like Tom Izzo versus Shaka Smart
Yeah,
in the round of 32. That's a tough like that. This region sucks.
yeah,
Like this is going to be hard to pick, and I think not because of uncertainty. I just think because of talent.
yep,
You can tell me, yeah, I picked this team over this team, and I'll probably respect it.
yeah.
I think the only one I'm not really worried about is Kansas State, Marquette, and the one seed Purdue, and Tennessee. And even Tennessee is very volatile at times.
Yeah.
So I don't know that this region's tough.
I think you said it sucks, and I know what you mean, but it's like it sucks because it's like good on good. You don't have
Yes.
it's not like bad, but it's like trying to pick this is a headache because like Oral Roberts, I think I'd probably have them winning. I'm gonna take Duke, but I'd probably have Oral Roberts in any other 5 versus 12 matchup. It's
See,
just
this is
this
and
this
this is why I
this is
make
the one I don't
25.
like.
I make 25 brackets just so I can. Okay, now I feel better about taking it. I was like, I did pick Oral Robertson over Duke. I just picked it in a different bracket. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
And like Tennessee, I don't like Tennessee, but I'm not sure that Louisiana
yeah,
is the school to get it done. Like if you were
and
to
that's how I felt.
if you were to flip those, like if you give me Tennessee versus Oral Roberts and
Mm,
Duke versus Louisiana, I'd love that.
yeah, I've
That would be
taken
something
Oral
I'd love.
Roberts. I like.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
see. Let's see. Even like a VCU over, VCU over Tennessee.
Hmm.
Scroll up. Let's go back up to these top regions. Let's look at these 12 and 13 seeds that could have happened. Let's see.
I'm
Fuck,
taking.
I would have took Kent State over, Tennessee. That would have been
Yep.
one of the picks I took. I would have took Furman,
Yep.
Charleston. I would have took those guys over Tennessee in the first round. Like
Hmm.
those would be locks because I don't trust Tennessee
I'm with
at
you.
all.
I'm with you.
But
And as far as like 5 over 12, like I'm taking Oral Roberts over San Diego State, taking him over Miami, taking him
hmm
over taking him over St. Mary's too. It's like
yeah,
this didn't really work out the best for I think for these. It didn't work out well for anyone looking to take Tennessee in a first round loss and anyone looking to take Oral Roberts for a win.
well, I mean, and Duke and I mean that's just a bad draw for each other. Like
Yep.
Duke got a really good 12 seed, and Oral Roberts got probably one of the better 5 seeds. That's what it is. Like
Yeah.
They saw, like you said it. They see a St. Mary's, Miami,
Hmm.
whoever the other 5 seed is, San Diego State, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're good," and then they get Duke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's going to be a really good game to watch, Duke and Oral Roberts. It'll
Yeah.
be really fun to watch that one.
I wouldn't hate the argument that Duke's a 4 seed and Oral Roberts is like an 11. I think those are two teams that
Yeah,
are probably underseeded anyways. I also, my upset here, I'm still kind of going back and forth on it, but I think I'm going to take Michigan State over Marquette in the second round.
and
Um,
I flirted with that idea for a while, and I stood there, I just looked at it, and I couldn't, but I don't hate it. I really
yeah,
don't.
I think I'm going to pull the trigger on it just because it's Izzo, and Izzo has two good guards.
Mm,
And when you've got that combo, I think that's a tough team to beat. And Michigan State's weakness is their center play. They have not done well against teams with really good bigs, and Marquette doesn't really have that.
mm.
So I think matchup wise, it could be a pretty good matchup for Michigan State. They did play like trash in the Big Ten tournament. So, like, I don't really want to write them off because of that, because it wouldn't be out of the norm for a team to play like trash in the tourney and then kind of regroup over a week, especially when you've got Izzo. I mean, like,
I mean, that's what I was about to say. Like, you just can't count out Izzo. Like, it doesn't matter if, I mean, Michigan State could be a fucking 16 seed,
mhm.
but you got Tom Izzo there, and you look at that and you think about it, you're like, fuck, can I take the 16 over the one? Is there a chance? Because that's the Tom Izzo effect, man.
Yep, I'm
So
with you.
you can never count that dude out.
I'm with you. And then you want to go through and you want to go through our like final four picks and then who we've got winning the Natty,
Fuck yeah, let's
and then we
all right.
can move on over to some NFL stuff.
Let me look at my bracket again. I looking at this again. I'm just like, a lot of teams here. Well, I did say Alabama,
Hmm.
so I did have Alabama
I'm with
in
you
my
there.
Final Four.
I think we're on agreement there. That one's pretty simple. Where Alabama is just the most talented team there, and there isn't like any other teams that really stick out as like I like this team.
So in this East one, in this this conference where a lot of uncertainty, I had Duke. I picked Duke to go.
Me too.
So okay, good. We're okay. We're good. So Duke.
I've got Duke and Kansas State in the Elite Eight there, and I've got Duke winning that.
I had Duke and Marquette in the lead eight. So I think Memphis could make a run too. I think yeah. Let's see. And then Midwest, I had Texas.
Hmm.
Uh,
I'm still
yeah,
debating Texas and Houston, but I'm leaning Texas.
I had Texas over Houston. So
That
I can never trust Houston. I feel
Yep,
like.
that's probably the
And
direction I'll go.
and then the West, I had UConn. I had UConn over UCLA,
I am probably going to take Kansas in the West, but I
which
think
that's a safe pick. It's a
yeah,
safe pick. It's not a bad pick.
I
I
think
think
the winner of Kansas UConn is who makes it out of that.
yeah.
It's one of those
I,
two.
I had TCU in the Sweet 16. I really don't hate my bracket. I don't. I did have Drake. I had two 12 seeds in the Sweet 16. How about
Worth a
that?
shot.
I fuck it. Why not, right? It's not like I'm gonna be right about this shit anyway. So
And then in my natty, I've got Alabama over Kansas.
I had Texas over Alabama.
All right, all right.
So
We got a
I
lot of
think
similarities so far.
yeah. I didn't watch enough Alabama basketball. I've heard they were always really good this year. So I'm kind of banking on that.
Hmm.
And plus, looking at the region, I just don't see anyone really scaring them.
Yeah,
Alabama's they're playing good basketball. A football school is really a really good basketball school too. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it is what
Um,
it is.
I like Brandon Miller a lot. Obviously that's been in the news. He's been a topic of discussion, but as far as anything on the court goes, he is ridiculous. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
reason he's going to be the first guy picked, not named Scoot or Wembanyama.
I,
It's
I don't I don't know
He's good.
anybody in the draft because the Spurs are going to get one of those guys. I'm manifesting that shit in life.
We're in a
Like
real competition here. Me and you are in a real
oh,
competition.
you're a
Pistons
Pistons
and
fan, aren't you?
Spurs. Pistons
Oh,
and Spurs.
y'all don't need it. Y'all been picking first forever now. Like you had Cade Cunningham, you had another like no, let me have Wimbayama, man. Let me have that.
I'll take you. You can have Wembanyama as long as we walk out with like Brandon Miller, because we don't really need Scoot. We've got our guards, but we need a wing over in Detroit. So if it's Brandon Miller, then so be it.
I just want Wembanyama. I just want the Rockets to not pick any of those guys. Like
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just hope the Rockets suck. But
Kind of switching over to NFL stuff, because there has been a bunch of NFL news over the last, like, I want to say week.
Fuck. So as we're talking, Tom, I don't know how to say it, Pelissero or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? No, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I know you're
He
talking
just
about,
said he just retweeted saying,
Pelissero.
yeah, Pelissero. He said the Raiders are closing on a deal with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh,
That,
how many
that,
years?
I don't know. They're just yeah. I think it's finalized. I'm so irritated. Okay, because
Let's
no
hear it.
shock to anybody. No shock to anybody. Right. I'm biggest Derek Carr guy. Right. Not anymore. He
Mhm.
doesn't play for Raiders. I don't give a fuck about him anymore. Right. That's how I feel. It's like Raiders versus everybody. Okay. But why did we get rid of Derek Carr to get a worse Derek Carr? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like shit doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I was fully expecting the Raiders to probably draft a quarterback or trade down. Fine, right? And I figured roll with Stidham, but I kind of saw the writing on the wall because I like about an hour ago Stidham or went to he signed with the Broncos. I'm like, fuck, we're gonna get good. Like I have you can ask Garrett in the group chat in our little friend group chat. I put great, we're fucking great. We're getting Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Because I saw that and I was like, let's just sign Stidham, roll
Mhm.
with the year right there. QB draft next year is gonna be a really good QB draft. Let's just get one then. Nope. And so now we have Jimmy Garoppolo for like 25 million a year, which is cap space we needed for our defense. I'm just not necessarily happy. You know, I can't. And we might even make like we might do okay with Jimmy Garoppolo. I just hate the move. I
Mhm.
don't. We're just not getting a quarterback, so I'm kind of waiting on the details for this. But
Yeah, I tried looking too, and I don't see any. Um, I don't see any details other than that he signed, which kind of sucks. Because I'd like to know how many years it is. If it's 1 year, I don't hate it as much. It's probably not going to be 1 year.
me
That's
too.
pretty
But
unrealistic.
I don't see that happening either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 maybe, but it's like I'm still with you. Moving from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo is lateral at best. It's definitely
Thank
not
you.
better. It's
Right.
lateral at best if you're being generous.
And it's
And
like, what was the point? What was the point of the move? You know what I mean?
mhm, yeah, and you
Yeah.
can have a young quarterback sit behind Derek Carr. Well, like, what
Exactly.
difference does it make if it's Carr or Garoppolo that he sits behind?
Yeah.
And Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't want like that 49ers situation is interesting because I don't want to say he didn't want to mentor a young quarterback, but it's like there was something there where they had Lance and he wanted to be the starter, it felt like.
Yeah.
And maybe it's different if he knows that it's going to be the situation going into like Las Vegas where he knows that he's going to be like a mentor. But even with like the Raiders right now, it's like they either have to wait till next year for a quarterback or like have someone sit this year anyways. Because as of right now with the Bears trade, it looks like the Raiders are either getting, if they get a quarterback, it's going to be Richardson or Levis.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to want to play either of them this year at all.
No.
Um, or you can wait next year and hopefully get, CJ Williams, which, I mean, it's a good move, but like, I don't
So
know. I,
my
I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand what the
I
Raiders are doing, is why
I
I'm kind of like,
I think
doesn't make sense.
I think the McDaniel's regimen had a really shitty first year. Kind of panicking now. I think he's
Mm,
kind of panicking. You know, because there was a lot of patience. I feel like, and now we had just a lot of games that we should have won. Which, if we win those games, this is not even a discussion. I
mhm.
think Derek Carr's still with the team, but I think defense gave up a lot of leads. The offense stalled at times. I think there was a miscommunication of how the offense was going to be run between Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels. I thought, Derek Carr always had, freedom at the line to audible I think he didn't have that this year. I'm not coming to the defense of Derek Carr. Sometimes he played like shit. He did. I
Hmm.
saw it. Um, I think I just this all started when they benched Derek Carr. I felt like and said, "Hey, last two games you're not playing." Like that, I think that was just a really shitty idea
Yep.
for a couple of things. One, Derek Carr, if you're going to trade him after the season, you let him finish up the season, and then I feel like, oh, he might waive that no trade clause. We might get some draft capital out of it, right? Or, fuck, like if not, okay, we finish the season. Hey, Derek, we like you, but you know what? Your contract's coming up. We're probably going to draft a quarterback. Cool. I felt like he would have been well received on that, or might have been one to trade or whatever. But I
Even if
just
he
don't see
doesn't
the
like
plan.
it, if he doesn't like it, you're in the same situation.
Right. So I mean, it's just like at least you're giving yourself a chance. I don't know. I don't know. I hate not knowing things. I
Hmm.
think that's horrible. I think the Raiders should just consult me every time. I have good ideas, like I do, but I felt like when they were talking about, oh, let's go get Tom Brady. Oh, let's get Jimmy Garoppolo. Why not just sit him?
Yeah.
Like, does anyone right now believe the Raiders were going to go to the playoffs? Like, let's be honest. I'm as a Raiders fan and usually am optimistic about my own team. I do not think we're going to the playoffs next year. So why? What is this move? Like, why are we wasting 25? The rumored amount is 25 mil. That was
Hmm.
before, and so we're wasting 25 mil of cap space when we could use that to the defense. Sign Stidham. Hey, be like, hey, you know, this is your chance to work for a go get a starting job. You know what I mean? Here's your thing. Draft a QB. I'm still pro draft Hendon Hooker in the second round. I think you can get him in the second round. And I think that's a really low risk, high reward move. I just don't see the point. But I think Josh McDaniels is panicking. I think he's finding a quarterback that knows his system and is hoping for the best. But I just don't like this move at all. But whatever. What do I know? No
Yeah.
one asked me anything. So
I was looking while you were talking to try and find
mhm.
the number of years on it, and I couldn't find it still. So,
I'm
um,
anxiously waiting.
um, uh,
Oh, 3 year, $67 million deal. I don't hate that.
that's not as bad.
It's not, but it's just
I wonder what that
I
looks like too, because there might be like an out after year two or something.
and that's what I'm kind of hoping for is an
Yeah.
out. You need an out,
Hmm.
you
After
know.
whether it's after year one or year two, regardless, there needs to be an out. I kind of have a question off the back of that. Would you rather like the Raiders go this route and like take like a Garoppolo and draft a young quarterback, or would you rather them like splash for Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers?
I was I wasn't I'm not pro Lamar Jackson. I think that cause I was actually okay with the Aaron Rodgers thing because yes, it was going to cost a lot of money. However, and I think you remember when I was talking about Josh McDaniels panicking a little bit. I think okay, well here's your panic move.
Hmm.
Try to get Aaron Rodgers right there. We know he's not playing for probably a year or two more. Get him, draft a quarterback. Whether Aaron Rodgers is going to mentor him or not, you're having a quarterback learn the system, and I think that was the best probably option for them. Either that or, like I said, save on cap, go with Stidham right there. Uh, you know, and kind of build a team. Like, I kind of give Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, a pass because maybe some of these guys weren't his guys to run his scheme. So that's why I'm like, okay, let's give you that chance. Here's the cap room. Here's some draft picks. Like, you have a say in like how you expect your defense to look. But I just don't. This is like, and I don't know if it's just like the Raiders curse, but whenever someone looks like they're okay, and then they come here and they just lose, it's just fucking chaotic. Like no one knows what the fuck they want to do, and it drives me nuts. And so I'm just like, let's just get a fucking plan. I hate this plan, but whatever. Hopefully, there's a plan in place.
Yeah.
But
And that's kind of the nice thing about going young too, is you kind of have like a vision where it's like you can see what they're doing if they go young. If they go Aaron Rodgers, it's still like what's the long term plan? Because Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers isn't going to be a long term thing. And then kind of off the back of that too, kind of moving on, we've got Lamar Jackson, who is now a non-tender, or he's got the non-exclusive franchise tag. So basically, any team can sign him. They give up 2 first-round picks.
Right.
Who do you think are some landing spots? Because it sounds like there are not many teams that are jumping to get after Lamar.
And I think Trey kind of, I think, the media kind of is missing the point. I think Trey has a tendency to stay on point sometimes, and sometimes he doesn't. And when he doesn't, to me, I go talk shit to him. Like I'm like, what are we talking about here?
You'll
I
be the
think he
first
actually,
one. You'll be the
oh,
first
for
one to
sure,
raise your hand and say,
yeah,
You're off
like,
here."
but he's like, you know, it's not that you're not getting Lamar Jackson, which to me, not the best quarterback, really good football player. I've always said that about Lamar Jackson. Not the best throwing quarterback. You put that dude on the field, he's going to make plays, but he's just not as good of as a quarterback as some may. He's a really good football player that plays quarterback. That's
Hmm.
that's how I describe him. But I think one kind of limited in that. He's a running quarterback. He can throw the ball every so often, but you're not looking at him to consistently throw the ball. Two, he doesn't have an agent, so you got to negotiate with him or his mom. How much? And maybe his mom has a business degree, knows economics and all that shit. Maybe I don't know, but I just know when you have family relations involved, it's really hard to take off the subjective glasses and put the objective ones. You know what I mean? So that I think that plays a factor, and no one really kind of wants to deal with that. No one, when you have an agent, the agent's going to do the best for his client, but the agent's also going to work with you because the agent gets paid part of that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So um, I just if I'm looking at teams that even though most of them have copped out, uh, the Jets want to get Aaron Rodgers, but I think the Jets want to contend now. So I think they might try to, really young team, really talented team. I think they're going to try to contend. They'll make it work somehow. The Falcons, which the Falcons are in no place to compete, but they just want a quarterback and they don't have to worry about it. Uh, I don't want to say the Raiders, but fuck, we already got Jimmy Garoppolo, but before that, if we were panicking, I'm so thrilled about this Jimmy Garoppolo signing. If you haven't if you can't tell, uh, fuck. Let's see. I'm trying to. I
Commanders, maybe.
maybe the Commanders. I said this a couple days ago, and if the Lions weren't so committed to Jared Goff, fuck, it would work.
No,
It
I
would
don't know.
work. I don't hate that fit. I know you're a Lions fan, but I don't hate it. Like I really don't. The offense is crazy. Lamar Jackson, who's better than Jared Goff to me. So like you throw that in there, you have Swift in there, JMO, fucking Amon St. Brown or whatever. I mean like that. It's just nasty.
Hmm.
And then you just got to work on the defense. You might have Lions would probably be the most fun team to watch in the
Yeah,
NFL. And then
that is true.
let's see,
The
you
nice thing about the
see,
Lions too, that's kind of an underrated thing that people haven't really talked about, is they only have to
mm,
give up pick 18 because that's their pick. They don't have to give
mm.
up 6, which is the Rams pick.
Oh,
So
there
if
you
you're
go.
giving up 2 first-round picks, it is kind of makes it easier on the Lions because they're not giving up a top 10 pick like the Falcons would, for example.
Yeah, those are really the only teams that kind of come to mind off the top of my head. But I don't know that the national media going crazy over it is just like you're not looking at it subjectively. When and I coach football and I coach middle school kids. You know, you don't always. We had quarterbacks that can't throw. And we knew that was a bad thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, this kid can run, but can he throw? Oh no. Well, makes shit limited. I would
Hmm.
take a kid that's not as fast but can throw the ball better because okay, yeah, he can run, but he can throw too. That's two. When you only have a guy that can run, yeah, defense are going to throw 7, 8 people in the box and force that guy to throw,
Yep.
and that's what I mean. I just my thing about counteracting Lamar Jackson, me being a defensive genius as I am, just put two QB spies right there. You rush three, put two QB spies right there. put everybody else in coverage. I don't think you can. I don't think they can beat that.
Yeah.
Not, you know what I mean?
And the contract is going to be crazy.
Oh
Not only
yeah,
is it going to be a crazy amount of money, but it's going to be fully guaranteed.
yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that at
No.
all. For any team, I don't care, any team that's in on Lamar Jackson, whether it be Lions, Commanders, Falcons, whoever you want to list, they need help because like the Lions out of all those teams are the closest to winning,
Mhm.
but the defense is terrible. They need to invest a lot of money or draft capital in that defense. And you're losing 2 first-round picks. So you're losing the money and the picks to
Oh,
actually make your team better.
whatever.
So it's easily see any team that goes after Lamar, like their team is going to eventually suffer. They might win this year, but it's like eventually something's going to come along where you no longer have the resources to actually build the team around them. And then you're kind of in the same issue of like, what do we do now? We have a quarterback we're paying a lot of money and a trash team.
I think the Ravens did the best move by saying, okay, here's a non-threat. We'll let someone else sign you if we like it. We'll agree to it. If not, you have your contract. And the fact that everyone was like, nope, and I think lost in translation is the 2 first-round picks. I think that's part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
But people are saying, well, yeah, why is no one offering Lamar Jackson? Well, it's like you're giving up 2 first-round picks and you're giving up fully guaranteed money. Like, you know what I mean? I think that was the best move, and I think not that it. I think it was a reality check for Lamar Jackson. Like, oh, maybe I do need to get an agent, but I don't know. Like, people have negotiated their own contracts in the past and it's worked out, but they weren't maybe as high quality or high uh, hold in high regard as Lamar Jackson. I think that's the difference.
And it's a complex situation where,
Oh
like,
yeah.
for example, Bobby Wagner negotiated his own deal last year, but now you're looking at a quarterback who's looking to get the most guaranteed money of all time or the second
Mm-hmm.
most guaranteed money of all time. It's like now we're in a situation where the agent becomes a little bit more necessary rather than a linebacker negotiating a 3-year deal. Once
Yeah.
you start getting into like record breaking territory, then it's good to have the agent. And I think you're right. I think Baltimore, I don't know if they should bring him back. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but he still fits in best there because they're the only team that doesn't have to restructure their whole offense to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I think the Ravens basically said, and they said it all offseason. Yeah, we want him back. We want him back. We want him back. Then kind of they put it on the wall. They didn't come out and say it, but they put it on the wall. They're like you're acting crazy. Here, we want you back, but we'll let someone else sign your contract. We'll let someone else offer you a contract. You to agree to it. We'll sign that if we like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's gone. Everyone doesn't like. No one wants that part anymore. And it's just like, hey, that's what I'm trying to tell you is like we want you back, but you're gonna have to work with us. It's
Yeah.
not a one-way street. You know what I
And,
mean? So
and the Ravens can kind of like play like a baby face in that situation where it's like, we let you go test the open market. You could get as much money as you wanted. You now have we let a bidding war start over you essentially. That's not what happened, but they could easily look at Lamar and be like, dude, we let you like go try and get the most amount of money
exactly.
possible from however many teams. Come to find out, not that many teams were interested, and that kind of helps the Ravens, obviously, but they can still play it off like, listen, we're trying to do right by you, trying to get you the most amount of money possible without you
Right.
leaving.
The,
So it's like
the
kind of
Ravens
works
said,
out for
look,
them.
we want you here. We're not going to deal with the contract situation. We'll let someone else deal with that. Whenever you want to come down from cloud nine and talk to us, you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and eventually that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
They just don't see anyone unless, like I said, the Jets. If they don't get Aaron Rodgers, they might be calling, and
Yep.
good for them, I guess. But we'll figure it out.
I'm with you. I think it sounds like the Jets are gonna get Aaron Rodgers, or at least it's very close, but that it's not signed,
Who knows
sealed, and
with Aaron
delivered
Rodgers?
yet. Exactly.
Who
It's
knows?
not signed, sealed, and delivered. He might
That
retire
guy's
tomorrow. Who
that
knows?
guy's fucking out there. Like he's out there. Really good quarterback. Really fucking out there though too. At the same time.
Yeah. So if the Jets don't get Rodgers, I think they may say, "Screw it. We'll give you 2 first. We'll give you the money, and
Right.
we'll bring you in." And then kind of moving on, the other big news was the Bears moving up to number 1. They got a haul. I don't want to say a haul because it wasn't really a haul. They got a decent collection of assets, so we'll say that. And I guess first of all, what is your initial reaction of the trade, and then kind of second of all, we've got like this over looming, like, we all know the elephant in the room where this is crazy because Trey basically said, like, Trey didn't even have that hot of a take. It was pretty
It's
reasonable.
not. It was. I mean, if you look at it as not a Bears fan, you're just like, yeah, it makes that. I can see where you're coming from. It wasn't like they're like, this is the worst take of all time. I'm like, well, that's crazy.
It
Like,
was pretty reasonable, I thought. It wasn't even
yeah.
like Trey wasn't even like this is the worst trade of all time. It was like they could have got more. They traded a little bit too early. They really like DJ Moore. All true.
All things that are reasonable. Like you can't really. Those are facts. Like but
He
like
even provided evidence based on how much the Commanders gave to move up to draft Robert Griffin. So
yeah,
he even was like, in the past, this is how much it cost. There was
yeah.
even evidence involved. It's crazy to be like, this is a terrible take.
So for like, I don't. Uh, it was a good. The Bears traded down because they should have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There was no reason to stay there, especially with so many teams that are looking to draft a quarterback. Should have traded down. Cool. He traded down, and this is what I was trying to say to Arav, and I was gonna start arguing with him, and I was just like, you know what, his brain's underdeveloped. He's not 25 yet. I get it. Okay, so I mean, like, I can't say like, but when you trade down from the number one spot, the number one draft pick is the most valuable draft pick in the draft.
By a
Like,
mile.
and then you draft down 8 spots, you get 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a wide receiver. Wide receiver that's talented, maybe not proven.
Is he a top 10 receiver in the league? No.
No.
Not even close.
No. Some people have said that too. He's top 10 wide receiver. No.
People are acting like he's prime Kelvin Johnson.
Fuck, dude.
You know
You think you? I was like, fuck. How do I not? I thought DJ Moore is apparently fucking Steve Smith. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck. I didn't know that. You know what I mean? But as soon as he plays for your team, he's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. So that's all you got though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just don't. And this kind of shows you how much people don't know about football. But Trey, the only thing that might have been questionable that I can see is Trey saying that the Panthers could win the division, which I don't think is a bad take. I think to people that don't look at the behind the scenes stuff, Panthers are building up a good coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
They did finish the season pretty strong at the end of the year.
Good O-line, ran the ball really well.
Right. That's not shit that you're looking at, right? So I can see when to casuals, okay, that's a horrible take, right? Which is it's a reach. Could be Saints, could be Panthers. That's
division's also not great. It's not like he's saying they're going to beat out like the Bills and win the division. It's a bad division.
I don't know. I think he might have said they could be 6-11 and maybe win that division or whatever. But what people don't, and this is where I was talking about, like people don't understand football is like if you make the playoffs, the best draft pick you can get is 22nd. Like it doesn't go off a record anymore. Mm-hmm. It goes off a record until you make the playoffs. You make the playoffs, then it's about where you finish in the playoffs. Then if you lose in the first round, you have the worst record, 22nd. That's what it is. So like when people don't see that or whatever, it's just like, you gotta look at that too, or it's whatever, 18, whatever. But like draft record doesn't, or your win-loss record doesn't matter after you make the playoffs. So you only got 2 firsts and 2 seconds out of it, and a wide receiver that could be really good.
And what do you think DJ Moore gets traded for if they were just to trade DJ Moore for a pick?
Fuck, a third?
Right. So
I don't think that's reason. I don't think that's crazy. It's a third, maybe a late second. You know what I mean? But
so it's not like that's a player that is equal to a first round pick.
No, absolutely not. It's not. Yeah.
And while you were talking, I looked up the Panthers still have $22 million cap space, so they still have time. They still have the money to go out there and add another player or two really good players to go out and help that team win the division. That's not very good. So they've still got that in their pocket too. But I think ultimately they needed another first round pick, whether that be not even like whether that's another 2 that gets elevated to a 1, but like something where in the long term, this is not going to help you build up your franchise as much as I think the Bears think. And also, looking at this year's draft class, I'm not a fan of picking at number 9. This year's draft
Yeah.
class is not a good draft class. You're not going to get some crazy talent at 9. They probably get the number 1 offensive lineman on the board, which this year, some good offensive linemen. You're not looking at like an elite offensive lineman, though. It's not a
Yeah.
lineman that's going to get taken in the top 5.
You're looking at starters.
Yeah, you're looking at a good starter.
Yeah.
But you traded down
Yeah.
from number 1 for a good starter at 9.
I'll tell you this. I like this trade a lot more if they were still in the top 5.
Yeah.
That's not crazy. You know what I mean? I feel like they could have got the same thing. And maybe people were looking at it like DJ Moore was a first round pick, you know?
That'd be crazy.
And,
I think people are. I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I was like, he was a first round pick. And I was like, that's cool, but maybe he shouldn't have been. I mean, he hasn't really, like, he hasn't played bad, like I said. But, you know, when you think of first round picks, you're like, well, maybe he's not the first round pick. He shouldn't have been picked in the first round. And to go more into this, you know, me, Garrett, and Mark, we did and we were live on it. We did like a little mock draft, right? And I had the Panthers, and I traded down, right? Trade down 1 to 4, and I got 2 firsts and a second. And so, really, to trade up from 9 to 4, trade up from 9 to 4, I gave up a second and DJ Moore after it's all said and done. After whatever they gave to the Bears and whatever I traded down from, I gave up basically a second in DJ Moore to move up 5 spots. Like, yeah, the Bears didn't get enough back. Like, they just didn't. And especially for a team that was the worst team in the league that's apparently now going to win the division. Like, you know, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
And to go out the back of that, now the Bears have lost their power. To where when you have the number 1 overall pick, you have the power to like maybe start a bidding war where it's like maybe another team sneaks in and tries to trade up that wasn't already in the mix. Like
it's March.
Yeah, exactly.
It's March.
You know, like if the Raiders would have struck out on Garoppolo, they didn't. But if the Raiders strike out on Garoppolo, do they then decide they want to move up?
Thank God, James Herrick. Fuck, I was worried, dude. I was fucking worried.
Like, well, maybe they still want to move up, but like Raiders, you know, maybe they weren't in it previously, and then they decide come closer to draft night, they do a little bit more evaluation and decide, hey, we only want to draft one of these quarterbacks. Maybe, you know, like the Falcons decide, you know, there's one quarterback we really like and we want to move up. And maybe they weren't at that decision yet.
It's a panic move. I talked about panicking, Josh McDaniels panicking. This is a panic move.
Mm-hmm.
How you panic when you have a month and a half until the draft is fucking crazy to me. Like, that's crazy. You know, and it's like, hey, bring, right? Hey, we'll offer you 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore.
Yeah.
All right, let me think about it. Bring. Hey, what's the cost? Well, I'll tell you this. The Panthers just offered me 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore. Like, what do you think? Do you think you can do better than that? If not, I'll talk to you later, right there. But at least you're playing the seed like, hey, this is what this team's offering me. You want to offer more? You want it? Right there. And it's like, no, I don't want it or whatever. But you don't make that, and like you put it really well, is the Bears lost all their power. Now guess what the Panthers are going to do? Hey, we're going to trade down.
Mm-hmm.
Panthers immediately, same day, we're going to trade down. That's not buyer's regret. That's not regret. Now they're going to do whatever the Bears should have done and be like, hey, we're going to sell this pick, but we're going to wait and let y'all start a bidding war. How much do you want Bryce Young? How much do you want CJ Stroud? Right there. You know, there's talks of the Panthers liking Anthony Richardson. They know they can get that guy at 4. And if they don't, they're going to get one of the other quarterbacks that are really good. But like, hey, we're cool with that. We're going to go ahead and let you trade up for it. But now the Panthers have all the power, and you know, going up 8 spots and giving out 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore, and probably going to get some of that value back. They're fine. They're perfectly fine. Yep. So when the Bears fans, as crazy as they are now that I know that, going after Trey, that shit was funny to me because it's just like you need to start looking at this. Like, and me, everyone knows as a Raiders fan, I defend almost everything the fucking Raiders do. You know, I I had to be drunk to, admit that Alex Leatherwood was not a good pick for the Raiders on draft night. But like I defended Mike Mayock, I defended John Gruden. Well, I didn't defend John Gruden until that shit
The
happened.
player personnel moves.
Yeah, like that moves. You know, I think I think Josh McDaniels is probably the most coach I've been outspoken to so far. I fuck, we got Jimmy Garoppolo though, but
Well, the
uh,
Raiders were. It's fair too because the Raiders were
yeah,
supposed to win this year and they didn't.
they
So
they were supposed to
there's some room to criticize.
they were supposed to make the playoffs.
Hmm.
I think that was the expectation.
Yep.
You don't get Devontae Adams. You don't do all this shit to not do that, right? And so now I'm like, okay, well, and I get it. Like, you play in a division with the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Broncos before the year. Everyone was a little rated high on them. I wasn't, but I don't know. I just the Bears. The It's okay to say the Bears panicked and they
Yeah.
didn't make the best trade possible.
Mhm.
Didn't make it at the right time. To make this trade in March is madness.
Yeah. Oh, good one.
Oh,
Took me a
oh,
second. Took me a second, but it's a good
oh.
one.
But like, you don't trade the number one overall pick in the NFL draft in early March.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. I think the RG3 trade happened, wasn't it draft night, or it was like a day before the draft or some shit like that. I can't remember.
I don't remember off the
But
top of my head. I was
but
very young when that happened. I was like 14 probably.
it was in April. I knew
Yeah.
that. It was in April. So you just it's just a horrible decision. But you got DJ Moore. Congrats.
Hmm.
Maybe the Bears get Nick Jigba, and you got. I mean, but
I
let's talk
hope
about Ryan Poole.
I hope they draft Jackson Smith and Jigba because that'd be so funny.
Yeah.
Because that means that DJ Moore isn't as good as Chicago Bears fans are saying he is.
Well,
Because if they're drafting another slot receiver at 9, then that means your wide receiver room still isn't good enough after you trade for DJ Moore and Chase Claypool.
why isn't Ryan Poole getting more criticism for trading a second for Chase
The
Claypool?
Claypool's crazy. That was pick 30. Well, it's actually 32 because the Dolphins don't have one.
Yeah.
The 33rd pick is, I don't want to say it's valuable in the same way as the first overall pick is, where you stop drafting, everyone gets to look at the board, see who's available, who's not, and that's another prime trade down spot, or you get the best player that didn't get drafted in the first round. One of the two.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
valuable in a very different way than the first, but for the same reason, kind of.
High seconds are very valuable draft picks because you get, some teams, and me being a fucking Raiders fan, I know this, but teams will fucking reach
Mm-hmm.
on people that shouldn't have been picked in the first round. And when someone reaches, that's another player that's going to get dropped to the second. That's just what it is. And so, man, when you have those high seconds, yeah, this guy didn't get drafted in the first. No, you don't get the 5th-year option, but you get a really good player
Yep.
that dropped. And so
then you start looking at your draft class and you go, I got this guy at 9, I got this guy at 33, I got this guy at 40, whatever. And now that's how you start building an actual team rather than just getting 1 or 2 players at a time. You start building in a whole haul.
Was ecstatic when he saw that trade. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
ecstatic. He was hoping for a 4th, a 3rd maybe, and then he got a 2nd. And I swear, like he went buy a lottery ticket because that shit was crazy to him.
I don't blame him.
And
now Pittsburgh needs help too. Pittsburgh's licking their chops at this year's cornerback class is very good. Pittsburgh needs corners, Maybe they get one at 33. Obviously they want one a little higher. They probably want Joey Porter, but it's like
I think
there's
they're
things
going
that
to
they
get
can
Joey
do.
Porter. Yeah, I think they're going to get
hope
Joey
they don't.
Porter.
I hope a biased Lions fan here hopes the Lions get Joey Porter. If they have to, they'll trade up.
You know what was wild? So, like I said, we did this mock draft,
Mhm.
and poor Mark. I don't know. Mark had the Lions. He drafted Devin Witherspoon at 6, and I was like, didn't even get the best corner in the draft, which I think is Christian Gonzalez, but he drafted probably the 4th one or whatever at 6, and I was just like, okay, like that's tough to watch, but you know what? I don't know. I just the and what people don't understand when they see Trey posting a video, and Trey's gonna put it all on the line, and he'll
Hmm.
apologize sometimes. Sometimes I say sometimes because sometimes he he moves the goalpost and he's like, But when he's completely wrong about something, he'll be like, okay, I'll apologize.
Good example is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
He wrote something about Jalen Hurts before the Super Bowl, apologized.
he did. He did that about Josh Jacobs a few years back when he had a really good year. He's like, I'm sorry, I was wrong about Josh Jacobs.
Hmm.
Whatever. And he does that all the time. He slapped himself in the face because Tom Brady was the sixth or seventh fantasy quarterback when he said there's no way he's touching top five. And Tom Brady got six or seven, and he made a bet that he was going to punch himself if he got top five. He got six or seven, so he's like, I'll slap myself, which is fucking wild to me because my petty ass would be like, no, it wasn't top five. Fuck off. You know what I mean? So, it's on the YouTube. We'll go look it up on the YouTube. But Trey Daubert slaps himself. I think that's what it's called or whatever. But he'll admit when he's wrong. But what people don't realize is, the Bears fans don't like what he said.
Hmm.
But Trey is very smart, psychotically smart at times, right? But the thing about it is, he's so psychotic. He's taking 300 screenshots of what everyone has said. I shit you not, and he's going to post all of them if he's right. He is going to, and all he's going to say is, "You're running from it. Come admit that you were wrong." Come, and you see it in almost every post that he has to tell someone that he's wrong. He's like, "They're not going to admit that they're wrong, but I have it right here. You can delete it, but I still have it." You know what I mean? Like, so
Do you see the
he
blog he wrote?
the power rankings,
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
that was very funny.
But you know what? I think he missed some good ones there because some of these I was just like, the last one he put, the Panthers are going 0-17. I was like, okay, well,
That's crazy.
yeah.
That's crazy. That
The
Panthers
Panthers
team
don't
is.
even have to draft a quarterback. I don't
No.
think Matt Corral's bad. I don't think Sam Darnold's bad. They don't necessarily have to draft a quarterback. They're going to win a few games. And they're going to beat the Bucks and Falcons probably
Yeah.
twice. So that's four wins.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know.
And they'll be in a position to recoup what they lost in DJ Moore. It's like they can. It's like people are acting like the Panthers are going to roll in. They don't have great receivers right now. Their receiver room is not great. It's like they're going to roll into the season with this receiving core. It's like, no, it's the offseason. They're going to make some moves. Maybe they make another trade. They've got a bunch of picks, from the – I don't want to say a bunch of picks, but they've got some seconds, some thirds from the McCaffrey trade. They've got some wiggle room for draft capital. So it's like they've got plenty of stuff that they can do to make that team even better than it already is. So they'll
yeah,
be fine.
I don't know. The Bears fans are nuts, and I mean this is just typical casual. My team's the best kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what it is.
Someone on ESPN said the Bears did good, so now I have to go on Twitter and absolutely just hammer home the fact that the Bears made a good trade. It's like, you're absolutely insane.
Trey said what a lot of people didn't think about, and Jesus got crucified too. You know what I mean? So like, you could not calling Trey Jesus. He's nothing of the sort. But you know what I mean? Like he's saying like sometimes people are going to say an unpopular opinion. His was very unpopular to a lot of, but in that post, in that power rankings post, I think he hit it best. He's like this. Thank you.
Yep.
You spread the brand.
Yep.
That's all I needed. And he's like, I'm going to end up being right about this. That's what he's saying. He's like, I'm going to end up being right. And so all you did is spread my brand. And I put this in the NFL chat. I was like, bad publicity is still publicity, guys. And he posted, he showed us the view numbers of that day. And he was like, thanks. That's all you did. You just helped me out. So,
yep. And it's like they're like spreading it all around Twitter and stuff. And it's like the Bears fans think it's a gotcha. They think it's this guy's an idiot. But I guarantee there were people who weren't Bears fans who looked at that, or maybe they're Panthers fans or they're fans of whoever. But fans of other teams looked at that and go, oh, that made sense.
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah. When you don't have the Bears goggles on, it's easier to understand or think about a trade than it would be otherwise.
The funniest thing about that video was because That's Some Cheese podcast, and they saw the cheese and they're like, oh, it's a fucking Packer fan. That might have been the funniest thing out of that. But it's just like I was like, why do they keep saying Packer fan?
I
And it's
didn't
like
I didn't
that's
make
some
that
cheat.
connection. I didn't
I
make that
and
connection.
I did. And I was like, oh, it's the that's some cheat. That's why. And I was like, it's like some blowhard Packers fan. I'm like, yeah, you're being a little bit of a blowhard Bears fan. I'm not gonna lie to you here. I think one of the other funniest things, I replied to this guy, but he was like, because Trey's like, I have 60 employees at this, like whatever. He's like, oh, you have 60 employees and none of them liked your tweet, and I was just like, well, he doesn't need our validation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he does, like he doesn't need us to say, oh, you know what, Trey, you're right about this. Unless we're arguing about something like what Russell Westbrook or whatever. He's like, I don't. He doesn't need my validation. He doesn't need something as trivial as likes on Twitter. He
Hmm.
put his opinion out there, which is more than a lot of people will do,
On video,
and
on
on
video,
video.
face
Yeah,
in the video. How many
yeah,
people? How many people that replied to that? I have like anonymous accounts, and he's
yeah,
recording his face on video. It's
and be
like
like,
it's not
this
the
is
same.
what. Yeah, and so I mean, it's just like he doesn't care,
Yeah,
and he's biding his time. Like I said, I Carl put that video of Jimmy Butler or the picture of Jimmy Butler like tired and everything.
yeah.
He's like Trey's phone taking it after taking all those screenshots because that's absolutely true. If
Hmm.
you have said Trey is wrong ever in your life, somewhere in his phone he has a screenshot of you telling him that he's wrong. He might not ever show you, but he has that screenshot. Dude's psychotic at times. So I mean, like, just know that the Bears fans, y'all started another war. He's still waiting on his get back for Mitchell Trubisky. He
The
called him.
the Bears better pray that those picks pan out. Like if they
That's
don't
one thing I
draft
forgot.
if they don't draft a player at 9 this year, not as big of a deal, I don't think, because this year's draft class isn't as good. But if they strike out next year with 2 first-round picks, it'd be even. It like say the Panthers are picking 22. Say they win the
Mm-hmm.
division, pick 22, and they draft an absolute bum at 22. That trade
Yep.
isn't going to look as good. It's not going to look nearly as good.
Y'all better hope that Ryan Poles gets 9 right, because
Yeah.
if he doesn't, Trey's already talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you traded down 8 spots to just pick a guy that's a fucking bum.
Devin
That's what.
Witherspoon, pick number 9. Let's go.
That's what you're hoping for, right?
Trey, I can only imagine his reaction if the Bears take Witherspoon at 9.
Oh my god, he might at all of them, all of the Bears fans. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's out there, man. So, uh, Bears fans, you guys are kind of crazy. This is not even me coming to the defense of Trey. Like, I've said it earlier.
Mm.
Like, if I think Trey's wrong, I'll fucking tell him he's wrong. I just like, I don't agree with this shit at all. And even if we disagree on something and it comes up, and I'll bring it up later, about a week later, and be like, oh, I thought this was like, we had the whole regular season thing.
Yep.
He was talking shit about the Nuggets, not being, or it's the regular season. Well, I was like, well, it's just regular season, Trey. Why the fuck does it matter? That's what you said, right? Is regular season. Like, I will use your own words against you. So don't think this is me, be like, oh, I need to stick up for Trey. I don't need to stick up for Trey. I'll tell. And I think Trey understands that. I'll tell him if he's right or he's wrong, if I agree with him or not. So, uh, you know, this one, I think Trey's right. Trey's made me a smarter person, and at the same time, I don't always agree with Trey. Like, if I see that he's wrong about something I don't agree with, I got a big forehead. Some of it's my brain. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm gonna say some shit if I don't agree with it. So don't
Yep.
think this is me sticking up for my boss. This is me being like, hey, I agree with him or I disagree with him, but on this one, he's not wrong. He's not.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you. We're at an hour 13.
Okay.
So I say we give it a good old wrap here.
All
Touched
right.
on a lot of topics. March Madness, NFL stuff, free agency, Trey's Twitter beef with Bears fans. So covered all the bases. It was a good time talking with you, Chicksy.
Jimmy Garoppolo. I just don't. I'm just not happy. It has been fun, James Herrick. I don't know if we've ever been one-on-one on the video together, but this was a good time.
No, I don't think so. Not one-on-one. I think we've done some football or NBA draft stuff together, but not one-on-one before.
I like talking to you.
All right, guys, we'll end this, and Daily Show will be back tomorrow. Probably Hannah Fan and Bag Donuts as always.